Okay, now that I got it cleaned up a little bit in there, I want to go through a more cohesive list of what's there and what specifically I want to do. I need to replace seals and work on this door here to make it seal perfectly. You can see a little bit of light out of the bottom of it because that has fallen. We already kind of talked about how I want to make a cabinet that contains all of my metric gear and so forth, and I want to get all that straightened out. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with it. Get some kind of cord management going on here for the area where the timers live and so forth. Anyway, normally there are two of these trays sitting right here. We already discussed how everywhere that we see this silver insulation, we're going to replace it with a 3/8 inch thick particle board with an FRP facing on one side. I hadn't seen that material before, but when I saw it, that's what gave me the idea for this. So that'll be the whole ceiling, this wall down here, back wall, all of that. And that's about 7 sheets at $40 a sheet, so it won't be too bad. A couple other things I want to modify while I'm here. Not going to be using a screen anymore, so I got rid of the infrastructure that held the screen up there. You can see where it used to be bolted on. That's already gone. So where the trays sit in, I've got this outlet here, and as you can see, I didn't plan exactly right for the height, so I either want to move that outlet down a couple inches or up far enough to clear the tray. I'm not sure, but I'm going to move that outlet once I take the panel off, and I'm probably going to put it so that it's right in the center right there. It would not be harmful if there was another outlet down there too, so I may add another outlet. Okay. The drain for the air conditioner could potentially be hidden inside the wall, although it would make it less accessible. Not 100% sure what I'm going to do with that yet. We talked about deleting all the penetrations and stuff and then disappearing this pipe into the wall right here. Also, I suppose I could potentially get the air conditioning lines inside of the wall, but I would sort of rather not. I think I'm just going to leave it like it is. It's never been a problem. These carbon filters going up into a 3-inch exit, that's actually the original radon abatement system here. There used to be a pipe that came down into the sump, and there still is a pump on the outside, or a fan on the outside of the house. It's just one of those centrifugal type fans that pulls air out of here, and I actually installed a dimmer switch right here. It used to be controlled from the exterior, but I brought the wire in and control it from here now, and I can turn that up and down. I usually keep it set on the minimum, so what that's doing is it's just pulling a bare minimum of negative pressure on this room, which is nice because it means if you don't open the door of the room, you don't smell anything from inside this room. And it doesn't smell outside either, because obviously I pulled the intake through some serious filters. And then on top of that, there's a pipe that goes way up the side of the house. So the exhaust of this radon system, when they installed it, is probably 15 feet above ground level. So you can't smell anything coming from it, even if there was smell coming out of it, because the air is warmer usually than the outside air. And otherwise, it's also always windy here. So, I mean, I've literally never caught a whiff coming out of that thing, and I've climbed a ladder and stuck my nose in it. So, it just, I'm not worried about it. That amount of carbon filtration has been doing it, although those filters are quite old. What I want to do is I want to set it up so that instead of relying on carbon filters that need replacement, I want to fix it so I have a UV bulb up inside that intake that is hitting all of the air going out of there with with ozonation before it goes out. I don't even think it needs it, but I like to be 100%. Turning around into the other corner, we have my 55-gallon tank or 60-gallon tank or whatever. You can see all the wires coming in up there, or I'm sorry, all the hoses coming in above the thing that feed the hose setup that I have here, and they also feed the RO filter coming down through here. I gotta tell you something about this RO filter. I bought this RO filter on the order of 7 or 8 years ago, installed the filters in it, and I have never changed a single filter in it. I have hardly ever backflushed the RO membrane. I've done it before, but I've hardly ever done it. Can't remember the last time I did it. And I got to tell you, the water comes out at 50 ppm. 50 ppm is not zero, but it held zero for a while and then gradually got to the point where the water coming out would be, 50, 60 ppm. And it stayed there. So I was like, I just have never had any reason or feeling that I needed to mess with the filter because, 50 ppm water's, almost nothing in it. So anyway, I do have, for example, the sediment filter here, the one that is actually showing a little dirt. There's probably a carbon filter in there, whatever. I have a set of filters for it that I've had since I bought the thing, 8 years ago, and they've just been taking up space in the garage. So as part of this refit, I'm going to go ahead and change all the filters just for gigs, but I wanted to make the point first that I've literally never felt like I needed to do anything to that filter. It just works really well. This tank is great. It works really well, but I want to update what's going on here. This worries me a little bit, the way it wiggles back and forth. I'm eventually going to break the fitting off of the tank. I want to set up something better that has a more, a nicer faucet there. And I think what I'm going to do is set it up so this bottom outlet is just for filling buckets, and then the top one is the one that feeds when I want to have a hose coming out, to do something with it. So that's an improvement. I even thought about moving the tank up a little bit because it has room there and there's nothing that needs to happen, but I'm going to tell you, there's a big iron bracket bolted to the wall there, and it's got red heads holding it on. I could move it, but why would you do that? This space where the trash bag is in the corner is where my CO2 bottle used to sit, and like I said, I'm tightening back up because I want to think about using CO2. So, I'm going to clear out that area, and I may move the filter. I certainly don't really need access to it, so what may happen is I may move the filter farther in under there, because it just hangs on hangs on a couple of screws there. So I think I may just move the filter in, redo the lines and stuff coming so that they're coming out of here in the corner up in here, rather than up there and all the way down. That's something I'm definitely going to do while I have the paneling off. I'll run all that stuff so it comes in here where you can't see it. And then that'll mean that the CO2 tank can live either right here in the corner where that is, it's kind of where it used to live, or potentially I could put it right there. If I could figure out a way to put it in. I don't like putting in things that block the doorway very much, but the CO2 bottle, if you had it tight to the wall, would be just right inside that door, so it wouldn't really be in your way, and you always have to turn left walking in that door anyway, so potentially you could put your CO2 right there, and it could be with all the other controllers and monitors. So kind of what I'm thinking. Of course, obviously this, when I installed the trim to the door and everything, like, it's all caulked to the deal, and I'll probably have to pull that door trim. But when I do and put that other paneling back on, I'll put this back on there and I'll caulk it up there. There are a few seams in the ceiling. I don't know if it comes out well in the video, but there's a piece of silver tape that's taping those seams together. Otherwise, you can do the roof with just about one piece, with this other little piece here. But what I'm saying is, when I put those panels on, I'm going to caulk the back of the board that they're attached to, and anywhere there's a seam in the panel, if there's not a board behind it, I'm going to put a board behind it so that I can run a bead of caulk all the way around, then put the panel on. Then, because I just sealed these up with tape, you can see, which was convenient at the time. But when I get it all together, I'm gonna actually caulk the outside seams of them as well. Like I said, I'm gonna do everything. I could never make it perfectly airtight because there's exposure to a tunnel that runs out of the house down there. So through those little holes, I'll always get influx. Through the outlet right there, I can only seal up an outlet so well. But with a plate, I mean, that plate is actually caulked to the surface. So by the time you go that far with it, it doesn't have a whole lot of air moving through it. But as far as being able to hold a vacuum on the room, you probably can't do it. But I will tell you one last thing. If you take that fan there and turn it all the way on and have all of the holes up in the ceiling plugged up pretty good and everything like that, you can feel the difficulty there is opening the door. And that's what I want to feel. I actually have a manometer that is a device for measuring differential pressure between two rooms, and I'm going to install it right here and put the intake right on the other side of that wall so that I can tell how many inches of water vacuum I'm pulling on the room. And as long as it's some, then it's you're not going to get any smell, and as long as it's not too much, you're not going to lose your CO2. So that's kind of my story on what all I'm going to do in here. I don't know if I'm going to change that light fixture to a bigger one. I did put the track back up for my light mover. I mean, the mover itself is junk and it's stupid anyway to use a mover in such a small space. But I did put the track back up because that allows me to slide the light back and forth however I want. If I'm only running one tray, I can just move it over. And it's convenient to just be able to move it for maintenance just by pushing it rather than having to actually move it. Anyway, thanks for being so tolerant with my long talky videos or whatever, but you know, if you see this one, hopefully you'll be able to watch this all come together over the next few days and weeks. Thanks for looking.